Is blockchain technology the answer to a fair election? That's the question that we're going to be asking today. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Crypto Wealth. If you're not a subscriber yet, join the Crypto Wealth crew. Smash that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you believe that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is the wave of the future, then do me a favor. Make certain that you join us on this journey. Be sure to be a viewer. Be sure to be a subscriber, because I believe this technology is the future. There's no stopping it in any way whatsoever. And I believe that this technology will lead to a level of security and a level of financial freedom, or freedom with our finances is probably a better way of saying it, far better than any other technology that's ever existed on the planet since the beginning of mankind. And I say that without any overstatement whatsoever. All right. Hey, let's look at the presidential election right now with where we're at. This is kind of crazy, because this brings up a question. This is going into the courts right now. I think last I saw was maybe about an hour ago. I think Georgia's going for the president, the current president. I think North Carolina's going for him. Pennsylvania, they're really calling for him. But the thing is, if Pennsylvania does a Michigan, Pennsylvania may not go for him. But right now it looks like Pennsylvania's going for him. Biden is, Nevada's leaning toward him. Wisconsin's leading towards him. Michigan's leading towards him. If that happens, he's going to win. By the way, that reminds me of another video. I talk about what's the real winners of the presidential election. I got that video coming up later today. And I'm going to talk about some blockchain regulations that are actually coming in the pipeline, like people that have actually, congressmen and senators that's actually requested specific types of legislation. And I just came across this article, and I think it's going to be very interesting for you to see what kind of potential legislation is coming down the road, particularly if you're an investor in this space, particularly if you believe in the technology, particularly if you believe in the freedom that cryptocurrency can provide to all of us economically. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss that video later today. So here's the challenge that we have. If for Trump to win, he's going to have to get Nevada, and it's possible that we're going to see crazy court cases on both sides right now. It's possible this could go to the Supreme Court. And I believe all of these problems, all these quote-unquote court battles could be solved with blockchain technology. And we wouldn't even have to go here. Why? Because the number one concern is about voter fraud. Is somebody finding votes? Are they stacking votes? Are they stealing votes? Are they counting votes that, Pennsylvania right now is claiming that they're going to count votes that have a smudge on them. You can't read the signature. As long as they have a ballot that is filled out, they're essentially going to count it. Any sane person would recognize if you didn't have a dog in the fight and you weren't political, you could say, that doesn't make sense. It needs to be turned in on time. It needs to be legible. It needs to be accurate. That doesn't make sense that you would count a vote that's, messed up, smudged, not accurate. But if you are biased to think that vote could be for your guy, then all of a sudden your brain starts justifying all sorts of reasons. Or worse, you don't have a dog in the fight, but you hear some media pundit or some blogger say that this is why it should count. Then all of a sudden in your brain, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's why it should count. And then you're getting controlled and manipulated. You're not able to think independently. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to think independently here. But blockchain technology solves all of this. Blockchain technology, you cast a vote. It's a secure. What is blockchain? It's a public ledger. But I found it interesting because I started researching, how come this hasn't been pursued a lot more? And I think it's really political. And I think the political message, and I will look at a couple news articles on this. I think the political message is that the Republican Party nor the Democratic Party currently are excited about blockchain technology. And I think the number one reason they're not excited about it is because they're not sure if it's good for them politically. I fully believe that. When I read the articles this morning that have been written previously about this topic, I thought, oh, this makes total sense, because if you read these articles, some of the complaints that they have about blockchain technology doesn't make sense. Like that's not how blockchain technology works. That doesn't make sense. But at the same time, you realize that some of the reasons they say they don't like blockchain technology are some of the very same problems that we currently have. So you're like, that's 6 in one hand, half dozen in another. Look, I'll show you. Take a look at this. Why blockchain-based voting could threaten democracy. As the desire, first of all, you all know that we have a democratic republic, just an FYI. As the desire to increase voter turnout remains strong and the number of online voting pilot projects rises in the U.S. and abroad, some security experts warn any internet-based election system is wide open to attack, regardless of the underlying infrastructure. Public tests of blockchain-based mobile voting are growing. Even as there's been an uptick in pilot projects, security experts warn that blockchain-based mobile voting technology is innately insecure and potentially a danger to democracy through wholesale fraud or manipulation. Of course. The topic of election security has been in the spotlight recently after Congress held classified briefings on U.S. cyber infrastructure to identify and defend against threats to the election system, especially after Russian interference was uncovered in the 2016 presidential election. 32 states permit various kinds of online voting, such as via email or some subset of voters. In the 2016 general election, more than 100,000 ballots were cast online, according to data collected by the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission. The actual number is likely much higher, according to some experts. One method of enabling online voting has been to use application based on blockchain, the peer-to-peer technology that employs encryption and a write once append many electronic ledger to allow private and secure registration information and ballots to be transmitted over the internet. Over the past 2 years, West Virginia, Denver, and Utah County, Utah have all used blockchain-based mobile apps to allow military members and their families living overseas to cast absentee ballots using an iPhone. Mike Queen, Deputy Chief of Staff for West Virginia Secretary of State Mac Warner, said that while the state currently has no plans to expand the use of the mobile voting beyond military absentee voters, his office did a ton of due diligence on the technology before and after using it. Not only does blockchain make it secure, but the blockchain-based mobile app has a really unique biometric safeguard system in place, as well as facial recognition and thumbprints, Queen said via email after the 2018 general election. The security experts disagree. The issue around online voting includes server penetration attacks, client device malware, denial of service attacks, and other disruptions, all associated with infecting voters' computers with malware or infecting the computers in the elections office that handle and count ballots. So here's the thing. I find this very interesting. Denial of service attack is not necessarily going to stop the current votes being counted. And listen, denial of service attacks can be, you can do backup sites. There's any number of things. All you got to do is look at crypto projects that get attacked by denial of service attacks. That's not an issue that you have trouble dealing with, clearly, or all financial systems in the world would be. This idea, they're saying the weakness is that it's online. That's the weakness. My theory is if that's the case, do it in person, but make certain when they click on that voting machine, their vote is going via blockchain. That prevents all this nonsense that's currently going on in a lot of ways. Now, mail-in ballots would be a different story. But if the real concern here is security, then you have to ask yourself, why are we doing mail-in ballots? If that is really the concern, because this seems far more secure than a mail-in ballot. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to think objectively. No one's going to do for you what you're not willing to do for yourself. Think objectively about this. Security, they're saying, hey, we can't do this because there's security issues. But they will do a mail-in ballot where no one has to put a thumbprint. There's no facial recognition. That's crazy. Anybody could, in theory, fill out that ballot. If I were running for office and they decided to use blockchain for that election, I'd be scared, said Jeremy Epstein, Vice Chairman of Association for Computing Machinery U.S. Technology Policy Committee. Epstein co-authored an election security report with Common Cause, the National Election Defense Council, and the R Street Institute. Email and internet voting, the overlooked threat to election security. In it, he criticized blockchain and internet voting as a ready target for online attacks by foreign intelligence and said transmission of ballots over the internet, including by email, fax, and blockchain systems, are seriously vulnerable. I find this amazing. Military voters undoubtedly face greater obstacles in casting their ballots. They deserve any help the government can give them to participate in democracy equally with all other citizens, Epstein wrote. However, in this threat-filled environment, online voting endangers the very democracy the U.S. military is charging with protecting. There are many reasons blockchain is not good for voting, Epstein said. For one, okay, here we go. It assumes there's no malware in the voter's computer. Of course, but if that does occur, that's on one computer. It also assumes that you want all voters to be perennially public because it assumes someone finds a way to hack into the blockchain. Everyone votes becomes public. Okay, that's the whole idea behind blockchain. It's one of the most decentralized and most secure products that we have in the world, or technologies that we have in the world. So If they tried to create a new blockchain, that would be the issue. If they used a well-audited smart contract on something like the Ethereum blockchain, and they were able to do that in such a way where they could probably roll it out slowly over time and do post audits after elections on some of these small local towns. I mean, this is fixable. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we will eventually, no question, vote on blockchain. So these issues are going to be resolved. And while blockchain networks may be able to handle small absentee voter populations, the technology could not stand up to the use by the general voter populace and its volumes. Until there's a major technological breakthrough in or fundamental changes to the nature of the internet, the best method for securing elections is a tried and true one: mailed paper ballots. According to Epstein, while paper ballots are not tamper-proof, they're not vulnerable to the same wholesale fraud and manipulation associated with internet voting, Epstein said. So again, the fraud here, the concern here is internet, but it's very different. It's very different than using blockchain technology to secure the votes. Very, very different. If you go in and vote, and that goes to blockchain, so if they do a mail-in ballot, that's fine under typical circumstances, typical absentee ballots. But this whole thing that we just had, where they're just sending out hundreds of thousands or millions of absentee ballots, I mean, you're setting yourself up for potential voter fraud on either side of the equation, by the way. It's not just one party versus the other. It's either side. We as citizens should be concerned about our democracy. Tampering with mailed paper ballots is a one-at-a-time attack. Infecting voter computers with malware or infecting the computers in the election office that handle and count ballots are both effective methods for large-scale corruption. Okay. I see the argument, but this is more of an internet-based argument, not a blockchain argument. If this was the case, we would all be concerned about Bitcoin. I mean, there's so much money tied up in Bitcoin, so much money tied up in Ethereum, yet somehow it manages to function flawlessly from a security standpoint. So this is where they keep acting like this is impossible. You and I would not be willing to send $100 in Bitcoin or $1,000 or even thousands of dollars in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency if we were worried about this. So it's kind of like, someone said, hey, if you trust mail-in ballots, then put $500 in an envelope and mail it back to yourself. And someone would say, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take the risk. But you wouldn't think twice about sending $500. Again, this article is written for someone that's not like you and I, who have experience in the cryptocurrency space. And if you're new to crypto, I encourage you, don't take this article with a grain of salt. It's just not accurate. By the way, if you disagree with me, and I agree that there are some internet risk, but I think those risks are also there. There's far more attack vectors with the mail-in ballot. So with the mail-in ballot, it's making sure that you send the ballot to the right person, making certain that the right person gets the ballot and someone else doesn't get it and try to fill it out. Understanding that the person mails the ballot properly, fills it out properly, and sends it in on time, that it's even counted, first of all. And that once it gets put into the mail, that the mail service properly delivers it to where it goes on time and there's no problems. So there's a lot more potential attack vectors or places that it could go wrong. If you're using the internet as the excuse of why you couldn't do it because you can't secure the internet, then I say fine, still do in-person ballot. I mean, it's far easier to do in-person voting and let it go to a blockchain. Now we got the big C going on and people are getting sick, et cetera, et cetera. This isn't going to be permanent, so I'm not necessarily talking about it being permanent from this level. What I'm really looking at is all the potential voter fraud that's going on, and part of it is with mail-in ballots. But even then, if you wanted to go down that route, again, you're doing biometric scans on your phone and facial recognition. I do see potential problems here, but the potential problems is not with the voting process. The potential problems is, what is the government going to then do with that data? Because you tie a central bank digital dollar, which we'll be talking about in the next video. You tie a central bank digital dollar to that identity and that voting biometric. All that starts getting very interesting when it comes to privacy and privacy concerns. And my bigger issue would really be privacy concerns, making certain that it's a secure blockchain and the privacy functions work, so votes are not, so they're not using chain analytics to figure out who voted for, who. What we don't know about internet voting. In a research paper written by computer scientists from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and University of South Carolina, along with election oversight groups, internet voting started Votes was called out for not releasing any detailed technical description of his technology. Vote's blockchain-based voting system was the one used in West Virginia, Denver, Utah County to enable military absentee voting. Most of the details of the architecture and procedure are apparently confidential, though it is not clear why, the research paper said. The system has not gone through federal certification or any public certification to our knowledge. The company has not disclosed its source code, nor allowed its system to be examined by open third parties. Okay, I agree. This is a weird problem. I 100%. We want something to be decentralized and public, but at the same time want it to be private at the point of the vote getting cast. Now, let's just come over here real quick. I want to show you a couple more articles. And I want to talk about why is it the Republican Party would be against this. So one of the issues the Republican Party has about this is that it could increase voter turnout. And voter turnout has often been low in low motivation segments of society. And in low motivation segments of society, they oftentimes vote. And when I say low motivation, I mean they don't actually get up and go vote. And some people say, well, they don't have access to, they don't have access to transportation in some cases, or maybe it's a poverty area. That's true in some cases, no question. But at the same time, a lot of these people are able to go to the store, to go wherever. I mean, if voting is important enough, you get it done. But if people aren't willing to get in their car and go vote or whatever, the Republicans don't necessarily want to give those low motivated areas a chance to be able to vote. The Democrat side is, it's a technological thing. So they're concerned that the same low motivated voters would not be able to do it. So on both camps, there's concerns about why they shouldn't use this technology. And there's these article written. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't understand how articles are written, a lot of people can write articles. I don't want to go down that route. A paid person for the government or a paid person for a lobbying group can write an article that can affect public opinion and also create news stories. If you're not aware of that, ladies and gentlemen, you just need to become a marketer and figure out how easy it is to create a news story, particularly a local news story. I mean, you can change the narrative of a whole town if you understand marketing, just by a sheer marketing campaign that looks like factual news. I mean, that happens all the time. Enough on that. Maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. So I want to talk about this right here. The U.S. election system is not ready for blockchain technology yet. So why? On this website, NextGov. Why? I want to come to right here. How would blockchain integrate into the current election infrastructure? U.S. elections rely almost entirely on in-person voting, with mail-in ballots accepted for documented exceptions. Transitioning to it's crazy because they click here and they talk about this, and they talk about the security risk of mail-in ballots, but yet, we just mailed a whole bunch of people ballots. It is mind-blowing. And when you see, the political party that wanted to mail ballots because they said they were worried about the coronavirus is the same political party that didn't come out against looting and rioting in the streets when that also was a coronavirus risk. But yet it's also the same political party that says Trump shouldn't hold large rallies. And the issue here is the hypocrisy, just not being consistent. But it's us, the people, that have to have enough of an independent mind to realize this is hypocrisy. This is absolutely hypocrisy. All right. U.S. elections rely almost entirely on in-person voting, with mail-in ballots accepted for documented exceptions. Transitioning to a blockchain-based solution would only be feasible in the context of remote voting. I disagree with this. Again, why can you not go in, use a machine that's connected to the internet or whatever, and when you go in, it either immediately hits the blockchain, or when you get sometimes in our area, you use a computer system. It prints off a paper ballot, and you submit that paper ballot, which is read by barcode, and that's how they count your vote. Well, how come when you use that scanner, you can't input into a blockchain? Of course it can. There are many moving parts to elections infrastructure, including voting machines, voter registration databases, voting tabulation technology, and election management systems. All of these components are essential to ensuring every American ballot is properly counted. If we move to blockchain, what technology requirement would exist for each voter to cast a ballot? How would voters verify their identity online? Would blockchain solutions require everyone to vote online? Again, See, all these crazy questions that are simply, all they're doing is creating doubt because this is not popular yet. If we move, let me answer the questions. If we move to blockchain, what technology requirements would exist for each voter to cast a ballot? Any kind you choose. It could be a phone app. I just gave you an example. It could be a voting machine in person that communicated directly with the blockchain. It could be a voting machine that created a paper ballot that you put in a scanner, and that scanner communicates with the blockchain. This is easy. Listen, understand the smartest people in the room know this stuff, but they write questions as if they don't. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to think independently for ourselves. How would voters verify their identity online? Facial recognition, through thumbprint scans. I mean, what do you want them to do? They do KYC, AML. That's always an option. Or show up in person. And by the way, this whole thing about voters verifying their identity online, so many states, I think it's the state of North Carolina, they'll ask for your ID, but you don't even have to provide it, which is kind of crazy to think about. You're not even required to have an ID. And I could be wrong on that. But there's several states, like more than you would realize, that they will ask for an ID. They'll tell you to bring an ID. But if you go look up the law, you're not actually required to even have an ID. That's kind of wild. Would blockchain solutions require everyone to vote online? No, we just discussed that. Not necessarily. See, it's a silly question. I believe it's just designed to bring up doubt, or it's written by an author that doesn't truly understand the technology. In addition, blockchain does not exist in a vacuum. It requires extensive support from human personnel and other technology. This is true. However, doesn't it require less support than the current system? Wouldn't a smart contract require less support than the current system? Of course it would. That's the whole reason it exists. And by the way, counting votes would be so fast and so easy on a blockchain technology. It would be a practically instant calculation anyway. The expertise for managing instances of blockchain technology remains scarce. Many state and local election officials often have minimal technical resources to meet basic business requirements. Incorporating challenges largely unproven blockchain technology into their environment would be an onerous task. It can't be any more onerous than counting, recounting, waiting for days, going to court, and all this stuff. Hey, let me know what your thoughts are. In the comments. One more for you. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you think I'm right about this, then do me a favor. Smash that like button. If you think I'm wrong, but you think I bring up valid points, then do me a favor. Smash the like button. And if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear in the comments why. And if you agree with me, put it down in the comments. Less engaged. I'll respond back to you. I promise. What is it? Do you think that we're ready for prime time? Or I shouldn't say that. Do you think blockchain is a solution to creating more secure, more fair voting in the U.S.? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, here's the thing. I fully believe in this technology. That's why I believe 100% that cryptocurrency is the future. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're not investing in this space, not financial advice, but I highly recommend that you start investing in cryptocurrency. I highly recommend that you start learning, doing your own due diligence in cryptocurrency. Watch videos like this one. Watch YouTube channels like mine. Watch other people's YouTube channels. And then when you hear someone talk about something, go do the research yourself. Go look it up. Spend a few minutes on Google. See what people are saying. It's really fascinating technology that's going to change the world. And I literally believe the next great wealth is going to be businesses and projects, and in some cases, cryptocurrencies that are going to skyrocket in value. There's no stopping this technology. And I think this current crazy election that we're going through right now proves more than ever that this technology is needed in our voting system. That's my thought. That's my opinion. I believe that it creates freer, fairer, more secure election. A developing technology called blockchain has gotten attention from election officials, startups, and even Democratic potential presidential candidates Andrew Yang as a potential way to boost our voter turnout and public trust in election results. I study blockchain technology and its potential use in fighting fraud, strengthening cybersecurity, and securing voting. I see promising signs that blockchain-based voting could make it more convenient for people to vote, thereby boosting voter turnout. And blockchain systems can be effective at strengthening the security of devices, networks, and critical systems such as electricity grids, as well as protecting personal privacy. A few small-scale test runs so far have identified problems and vulnerabilities in the digital systems and government administrative procedures that must be resolved before blockchain-based voting can be considered safe and trustworthy. Therefore, I don't see clear evidence that it can prevent or even detect election fraud. That's crazy. How does it work? Here are a few steps in a blockchain-based voting system, which uses technology to mirror the process of in-person voting. First, the person needs to verify their voter ID, often by having the user upload a photo of government-issued ID and then a photo of or video of self-portrait. The system confirms the ID's validity, and facial recognition software makes sure the person in the self-portrait is the person on the ID. Then the system is authenticated as eligible to cast a vote. This is the same way we do KYC, AML, and crypto. If you have the Crypto.com card, that's exactly what they have you do. This is not difficult. Let's keep going. But by the way, we could still vote in person. I actually am a fan of voting in person. I think you should vote in person personally because I think it's the safest way to verify ID, et cetera, et cetera. One person, one vote. Only at that point does blockchain technology actually enter the process. The system gives each authenticated voter a digital token that represents the person's vote and a list of the digital addresses to which he or she can send that token. Each address indicates a vote for a particular candidate or a person to a ballot. The token doesn't indicate who cast them, so votes remain anonymous. When a voter sends a token, a record of that act is stored simultaneously on several different computers, making it much harder for hackers to alter the vote records. After casting the ballot by sending the token, the user receives a unique code that they can use to look at the anonymized online vote tally to confirm their vote was counted as they intended. Key challenges unsolved. There are several obstacles in the way of blockchain ever becoming useful for large-scale legally binding voting. One is that most people have little understanding of how blockchain systems work. Another, equally vital, is that even experts don't have a way to identify every possible irregularity in online voting. Voting on paper, by contrast, is well studied and easily verified and audited. Okay, this is nothing but technology transition. That's just learn. Not everybody knew how to use the internet either at one point in time. Not everybody knew how to drive at one point in time. That's nothing. One critical aspect of blockchain voting system is the method by which the computer system verifies voter identities. When a verified voter establishes an account on the system, that process creates a digital key that identifies them securely when casting a ballot. A more complex key is harder to hack, but also takes more computing resources to verify. It will be important to find a way to protect the integrity of the voting process without exhausting government budgets. Buying advanced computing systems, the computational power required may make blockchain systems inefficient for voting on a nationwide scale or even statewide in populous states like California and Texas. This is absolutely dumb. Smart contract. I think this is ridiculous. I mean, this is such a beginner, not understanding technology. You can do it with a smart contract. You can piggyback on Bitcoin's ledger system already in place, probably. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about that. Moscow election system, for instance, initially assigned keys that were too easily hacked that opened the possibility of voter impersonation, which is bad enough, but that weakness also violated the principle of a secret ballot by letting outsiders know how each person voted. Yeah, that would be an issue. Privacy is the issue. All right. So people are saying that they don't think that the blockchain technology is ideal or is going to work. This was from last year this time, basically, about a year ago when this came out. And it's amazing, again, to see privacy and how they're talking about voting and in-person voting. And it's just amazing to hear this. All this is prior to, the current events that's occurred in 2020. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you disagree with me, or do you think blockchain is the way we're going to be voting in the future? Because I fully believe that with everything in me. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to start learning how to earn passive income in cryptocurrency, I highly recommend that you subscribe to our Crypto Passive Profits newsletter. It's the easiest way for anyone to start earning some free passive cryptocurrency, small amounts of cryptocurrency, free crypto passive income newsletter, 5 streams of passive income. Daily emails teach you absolutely everything. Multi-year track record, been doing it for a long time, 100% guaranteed full email support. Just reply to any of my emails and I will be able to help you out if you have a question. Ladies and gentlemen, I also have a video about the Fed coin. I'm going to post that video above on the end screen. And I also have a video about cryptocurrency and why cryptocurrency is the future. If you're new to crypto, if you're still learning about crypto, or if you've been in the crypto space for a while but you don't truly understand how extraordinary this technology is, watch that video on why cryptocurrency is the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Remember, crypto equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.